Fenton. Each week, we explore topics and ideas related to the experience of people with conflict and look to promote the profession of conflict resolvers. We are available to connect with by email at Fenton Mediation at gmail.com or by calling 647-227-4734. Visit us at our Facebook page to like us and Facebook group page to become a member. Also visit YouTube, the channel called Fenton Mediation, to see past videos of shows. Listen to podcasts of Mediation Station on either SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts. Please follow us at our Twitter account, which is at Fenton Mediation. The conversation today is titled Humber and its community-based option. And with me will be shortly, Shivani Jegatheeswaran. Apologize if I didn't say that too well. And Maya Shaw. So the program is live each Sunday, having transitioned from radio delivery to Zoom format. We will engage in conversation with everyone attending, able to listen and watch. Microphones and webcams will be closed. If anyone wants to contribute, there are two options. One is to see the chat icon as a bubble at the bottom center of your screen for you to click to then type in a comment or question and then click to send. Or you can click on the reactions icon, also located at the bottom center of your screen, for us to see when you click on the hand icon. We will open up your microphone only for you to speak, to share your contribution, either comment or question, and then we'll close your mic again. The show is being recorded for both video and audio purposes and will be available for public access on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts afterwards. I have a little public service announcement to make in advance of the conversation. There is another option available for individuals looking to become accredited as a family mediator in Ontario. Ontario Association for Family Mediation, OAFM, is now providing that 80 of the 100 hours of practicum experience can be completed using simulated cases. The final 20 hours of the 100 hours of the practicum must be completed with real clients. Family Mediation Practicum Ontario is providing, through its OAFM approved course, this experience starting this fall, late September 2021, by using realistic case scenarios with the 80 hours counting towards accreditation. All classes are online with real-time feedback. For more information, you can check out the webpage, familymediationpracticum.pccs.ca. So today, our conversation is titled Humber and its community-based option. And with me are Maya and Shivani. Welcome to the program and the show tonight. You guys, you can open up your mics.
Hello, thanks, Greg.
Yeah. Keep your mics open. You two count. Okay. Not that anybody else who's present doesn't count. It's just we're trying to have the conversation focused on the three of us.
Fair enough.
So welcome to the program. Let's do an icebreaker. You guys familiar with icebreakers?
Oh yeah, I've been to camp.
What do you think? You let's see this as camp?
Maybe.
Wow, maybe that's true. So share with me and us one thing that you believe no one knows about each of you. Let's start with you, Maya.
I would say something that no one knows about me, or like a lot of people don't know about me, is that I can read and write in Korean. Not a lot, but I can read most Korean and write a bit of stuff.
Can I ask you, how did you get to learn Korean?
Actually, I got back. I lived there for a year teaching English, like a year and a bit. I just got back in January, and that's when I started this Humber program, actually, for ADR.
Okay. All right, we'll learn more. Shivani, what's one thing people believe they don't know anything about you? Like, what's unknown?
I think it's quite a few people know about this, but not too many. But I play a classical instrument. It's called the vuna. It's like this. It's a huge like wooden instrument. I can't carry it and stand and play, but I have to sit and play. It's almost similar to a sitar.
And what culture is it, gravitated from? What's it identified with?
So it's from the like the Indian like culture. Also, well, I'm Sri Lankan, so there's similarities between the two. So that's where it derives from.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Thank you very much. So what are the things that really drive each of you? What are you passionate about?
Shivani, you want to start?
Sure. So I think for me, I want to be able to give back to more so like give back to the community for sure, but definitely the youth. I want to be able to kind of help them kind of grow. I know there's certain things that I would have liked to maybe like have a mentor when I was a youth, like in high school. So that's something I'm really interested in kind of diving into that.
And what are the things or people that have sort of you've identified as being any mentors or motivators for you? Shivani first.
Yeah, it's definitely a few teachers along the way that I see that they have a huge passion for teaching and really giving back and helping students, and that's really kind of caught my eye. So I really want to kind of do that in this way through, and I've kind of learned maybe through ADR that I can kind of tap into that and maybe do that for youth. So that's something I want to kind of go into and see and maybe explore.
Okay, thank you. Maya, what are you passionate about?
I would say I'm really passionate in general just about like taking care of people that I care about and making them happy. I think I'm kind of obsessed with that. I love going on adventures and I really like helping people solve their problems. Definitely helping people solve their problems.
Help them help themselves solve their
Yeah,
problems.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you feel about, being approached to have this opportunity tonight, have the conversation? What was your
Well,
first reaction and response?
my first reaction was like, yeah, I'll do it. Shivani, let's do it. Like that was how we felt. And yeah, that was our first reaction. Like, cool, let's talk about it, see where it goes.
See where it goes
We
exactly.
were excited. Yeah.
And why did you say Shivani? Like, don't you have other classmates? Maybe they feel left out.
Of course, I love my other classmates so much, and I wouldn't have been able to get through the program without them. It sounds very cheesy, but I don't know. Shivani and I have a really good partnership, and we got to practice like our first mediation simulation was together. So I feel like we just kind of latched on to each other from then, and we make good partners. That's how I feel, anyway. I don't know about you, Shivani.
Yeah, Shivani, tell us the truth here, please.
The truth is, I actually do agree. Yeah, after that first mediation, we kind of worked out to see like how we are as co-mediators, kind of just learning like our strengths and weaknesses, and we just kind
Yeah.
of like hand in hand together.
Yeah, our strengths and weaknesses like go well together. I don't know. It works.
So I'll say to you, and I'll say this periodically, like I'd like to challenge back some of the things that people say and
Okay.
some of the notions they have. And I like to find a way to frame things more from a neutral or positive spin. So rather than seeing a weakness, let's just say possibly a challenge.
Yeah.
Generally from my experience, weakness is perceived as being a a weakness, something that's negative, actually. And I really see that people's lived experience needn't be filtered through a right and wrong, a judgmental frame.
Mhm.
So it's more about opportunity and seeing the differences that we have as they present themselves, not as impasses or obstacles, more as an opportunity. What is it we don't know about the situation from what we see or believe we know to what we can actually learn and actually enrich ourselves with?
Mhm.
That's exactly it.
I
So,
agree.
and so that's even the reflective piece. We might see it initially as a weakness. The reframe for me is to see it as an opportunity.
That's what I love. Everything is a reflection or an opportunity, even when you think it's not at the time. in class and everything. It seems like it's an opportunity or a reflection
For sure, yeah, that learning opportunity, right?
every
Everything
time.
you can learn
Every
from
time.
schools, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how did each of you connect with the program at Humber? Like, start with you, Shivani. What was it intended for you?
So I wanted to kind of learn. Well, I volunteered at the courthouse through an organization I volunteer with, and I kind of learned, like the diversion programs and kind of what they do like at court. So I thought, okay, so let me kind of learn about maybe what programs there are, and I kind of stumbled upon like the alternative dispute resolution program and kind of learning the youth justice circles. And I wanted to really tap in and really learn more about it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to enroll in this program and see where it takes me and see where where it leads me actually.
So when you say the court, is that criminal court process or
So,
family?
this was more a youth court. I volunteer with a youth organization, it's a youth court.
It's a criminal justice system though. Youth
The
criminal.
justice system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to clarify. Gotcha. Maya, why did you connect with the Humber program?
I mean, I've always wanted to do mediation or conflict anything. Like that's always been in my vision. And when I was in Korea, I knew that I had to do something when I got back. I couldn't just keep living this dream and then get back and do nothing. So I was just kind of looking around when I was at work one day and I saw the alternative dispute resolution program. And I was like, as if this is saying everything that I wanted to do in one program. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And it was online. And I live not in Toronto. So it was perfect, really.
And how long is the program? Just to, time period.
About 8 months.
It's confusing with the co-op. I think it's 8 months.
It's 8 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the
is
co-op
that
can go on forever though, however long you want.
is that a consecutive 8 months, or do you have like a break or period within there?
It felt consecutive. We had a break though, right? We had 1 week break, I think we had.
You have to
Yeah.
have Shivani. You don't remember for yourself, Maya?
No, I do not. It was a blur. Just kidding. But I think we did have one break in the summer, like not too long ago, which was really nice. But it started in January, so it was kind of like a let's get in and get going.
So then it's closing in on its endpoint.
We actually just finished. We had all our final exams, which were like mediation simulations on the phone and everything. That was really good practice. Yeah, we just finished like last week.
Yeah, like first week of August, we wrapped up.
So now the reality check. Okay, you're finished with that. You got the commitment. You got all that information and all those magical skills. Now what's next? Thoughts on that for either of you?
I mean, for me, I definitely want to find a full-time job in this field. I think it's better to like for me, it's good to be in this field because there's so many options. Like I want to do I really like the idea of like conflict coaching or anything that kind of like brings people together. I just want to help people solve their problems. So anything like ombudsman, advocate, anything in that title. I just want something in that area.
Okay,
And
thanks.
continuing co-op. That's about it.
Shivani?
It's funny. I actually do want to go into conflict coaching as well, but for me, it's like maybe work with youth. So I want to see what I can kind of do there and maybe think of ideas. I want to kind of work there, and I do want to build up hours in mediation as well. I know to get the accreditation and stuff. So that's probably my next steps and see where it takes me.
So when you first were thinking about the program, you got into the program, how have you seen your mindsets shift in any way now that you're at this point, the end?
I think for us, like how I saw it was first semester was a lot of self-learning, just really just tapping into who we are, what our conflict resolution style is, and just the different maybe biases and like that we have. And it's still obviously like it's a lifelong journey. We're always like self-learning, but I'm looking at it now and I'm able to kind of see things in like or push myself to see things in different perspectives, not just be fixated on, oh, this is how I'm seeing it. No, okay, so how are you seeing it? I want to learn from how you're seeing it. Oh, okay, so I'm a bit more open in that sense.
Okay. Maya, you have comments on that?
My cat was meowing so loud I missed the question. So
Okay.
sorry.
So, when you first were considering taking the program,
Mm.
and then you've immersed yourself in the program, and now that you've completed it, what's your, how have you seen your mindset shift or change?
I feel like I've oh, that's hard. I feel like I was so dead focused on mediation in general as my career goal because I thought that that was like the end all be all. I need to be a mediator. But now it's like I didn't realize that there were so many other things that you can do in terms of like conflict resolution, anything like that. Like there's literally so many options out there. And I was just shocked and really happy that that was available to me, I guess.
So it's presented itself as maybe I don't know where to go now. There's so
Yeah.
many forks, so many possible forks in the road here.
Yeah. I really like the idea of conflict coaching, which I didn't think that I would. I thought I'd be more interested in family mediation. But yeah, it really helped me like kind of see other options that I would be really good at, I think.
Yeah, for me, it's like we have an expectation of what, and then we try to get attached to a pathway or make a journey
For
that
sure.
will try to realize that. And then along the way of the journey, we have all these events that happen, circumstances, new information and insights, and we say, oh, I didn't know about that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, me too.
You have a cat? Who's got
I'm
the
so
cat?
sorry. Is he loud?
What's their name? Conflict?
His name is B. I should name him Conflict or
Yeah.
throw him into one. Not sure.
Well, it's the thing, nature or nurture. You may not have to throw them into it. Just, it seems to be a happenstance of life that we end up in conflict,
You
whether
think
we want it or not.
Yep, whether we want it or not. That's
exactly. This is a great example. I could throw something at him and create a conflict.
Well, I want to put a proviso out that no harm is done to any animals during the course of our conversation. And I really want to encourage afterwards too.
Okay, no harm. No harm. Just in my own mind. There's harm to my mind, but it's okay.
So what role does humor play in either of your lives?
Oh, I feel like it plays a big sometimes I feel like Chandler from Friends, like, this is a conflict. Ha ha ha. Okay.
Are you laughing at the people or their situation or yourself?
No, that just makes it worse. Normally I just laugh at myself in the situation. How about you, Shivani?
Yeah, I think, well, humor, it's just when I'm in conflict, sometimes I just don't realize. But this was like like before the program, and now I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm able to understand that. Oh, this is conflict. Oh, okay, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be like big blown kind of thing. It's like, oh no, this is conflict right here, right now. Wow.
Being able to like identify it as a type of conflict. Like we talked about this. We were never able to do that before.
Yeah.
So
when you say that, what do you mean? Put
like,
it in more words. Yeah.
Like, okay, so we learned about data conflicts quite early on in our program. So like those are so common and they happen to everyone every day, especially in an online world. So like misinformation, miscommunication, like texting. How can you convey the right tone in texting, even in your emails? Like we were all being funny, but who knows if that, like, if we all conveyed it the right way, that's a data conflict.
Well, I put this question out. I like to ask it when I teach or coach or something of that similar nature. It's like, who's responsible for understanding the message, the sender or the receiver?
It's a good question.
What do you guys think?
Both.
I feel like it could go both ways. Like, yeah, both.
Both it has to be understood to both. I mean, the sender has to understand, okay, like if this is the tone that I'm sending it in, I have to kind of ensure it's kind of being met. But I mean, with emails and texts, sometimes it's just hard. It's just you can't really send tone.
Yeah.
It's
and as the replier, you have to like if you don't reply, then it's on you. Like you're the one who didn't reply, and then you said that tone.
Right.
Wow.
So you got the message, you got the email, and or the text even, because
Yeah.
those are all with nonverbal stuff too. So you're just reading the the framing, and you're saying, hmm. So how much do you think when we're reading this on the receiving end, how much do we project of our own feelings and thoughts in the moment that may not be present or intended from the sender?
This is why people say you should write your email and wait 2 hours or send it to someone else before you send it. Because all your emotions and like it's not clear, you're not being productive. You're just laying all your emotions out.
Well,
I also,
I think.
Shivani?
I just want to say sometimes I think even when you're reading it, it really depends on maybe like what mood or like if something happened or the feelings that you're in that you might be projecting that too of like, hey, why are they saying it this way? And maybe that's just not
Yeah.
how they're saying it. It's just that's just how we're reading it,
If
right?
you're annoyed, maybe you read it as an annoyed tone.
Yeah.
So hard.
Mm-hmm. For me, in terms of responding to the question, who's responsible, I believe it's a shared responsibility because we have responsibility for ourselves in terms of what we put into the framing and the messaging. And then there's a responsibility on the person who, give due consideration
Mm.
for the person who's put that together and not project or put the judgment. Though, as human beings, we are tending to be prone to make judgments.
For sure.
Yeah.
Very true.
Very true.
So how do you keep your judgments what do you do with your judgments?
It's a good question. I feel like they hit me and then I just kind of like keep them rolling. But that like took practice. Like at the beginning of the program, I was still working on that. It was something I was aware of, but I was not as aware. I don't know. But now I am. I still work on it though.
Yeah, I think it's something that we always kind of have to work on or like
Yeah.
kind of keep, like maybe kind of, I guess in a sense, I see it as like maybe like checking myself, like, okay, like
Yeah.
reading it this way. Okay, let me take a step back. Did they really say it this way? Did they, like, and maybe like, yeah, like before this program, I feel like I probably wouldn't have, but now I'm like, no, like I see it as doing a disservice to myself if I'm
Yeah.
just reading the judgment. It really is a disservice to myself if they're not saying it that way or sending it that way. So I was like, okay, if I take that a few moments to really just kind of help and check in with myself, then I could really just save a lot down the road and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
miscommunication or something that's misconstrued, I guess.
And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we check on each other, like when we're partners in anything. Like if I was being that way, I would expect you to like check on me and be like, "Hey, what's going on there?"
What's going on there?
Well, I think that people need to be very self-aware. They have
Yeah.
to start with oneself and know that there's another person involved. There's intention with understanding as part of relationships. We don't walk in worlds alone.
Yeah.
We interact amongst people. We don't live in silos, even though some of us may be more social beings than other people. We still are amongst people. And when
Yeah.
people, experience conflict, traditionally, they process that as a negative thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why would the two of you want to intentionally be involved with people's conflicts, negatively perceived stuff?
I think
Shivani?
I think it's just I you're totally right about like I think it's the immediate thing is that everyone thinks it's negative, and I think from this program that's like learning that there are positives to conflict. I just once I learned that it's like I want to let everyone close by or like know that it's like no, like it's not a negative thing. Like if you look at it from this perspective you can learn, and I just want to like spread that to everyone because it's like it's so common that everyone thinks conflict is negative, and I was like no, I want to kind of like let everyone know. And I guess that's what I guess I just kind of just jump in and I'm like I want to help people understand, and it's like what you said, help them understand how they can approach their conflict different. Not that we fix their issues or fix, it's just to help them see it differently, right?
Maya, you want to share anything too?
Sorry, what was the question?
Are you focusing on your cat?
No, yeah, he's
See,
like,
your cat. I just heard your cat again. Your
sorry.
cat's hearing.
I'm
Are they?
listening to Bonnie's answer and forgetting the question.
That's okay.
He
You know,
said was like, why did you want to get into this? I like that was correct, right?
well, you know, people perceive conflict as a negative thing.
Yeah,
I mean, we know, I believe from our experiences, the conflict is actually a great opportunity for growth and development.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
unless, you know, if we don't go into that, we'll never experience that growth and development. Traditionally, though, people see it as a barrier, like conflict. I don't want to go there. I avoid it, evade it. I run away, or I get someone else to come in and try and fix it. So why would you want to intentionally put yourself in that kind of situation?
Well, it's weird because like for myself, I hate conflict. Like I'm not very good at it myself, like in my own situations, but when it's for other people, I like can see so clearly and I'm like, this is exactly what you should do. Why don't you just say this or do this? Like it's the obvious, clear communication, straight route to resolution that you can see. So like I've always just enjoyed doing that for people. And my mom's friend when I was very little was a mediator and told me all about it. So I was like, that's so cool. You get paid to do this, like to solve people's problems, and you have a great shoe collection. Like, that's exactly what I should do.
And
So,
you see a connection between the shoe collection, mediation, and
well, that's what I saw when I was little. She was a mediator, had a cool job resolving people's problems, and had great shoes. So it seemed like a perfect in for me.
so I'll ask you this question, both of you. Now that we're on remote, what's the benefit of having good shoes?
The comfy ones are good. So
Who's going to see your shoes anymore?
okay, I don't know. It's a good question.
Good tops and
Yeah,
It
you
was
got to.
very relevant like 10 years ago.
Yeah, you got to shift your budget to spend it on the upper part of ourselves.
Laura said I can find a Zoom shoe show, so I'm going to trust her.
Well, you know, you got to take limitations on what Laura might express or not. You know,
Fair enough.
we 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 do what we can to support people.
Yeah.
So you guys mentioned earlier about a co-op at school. What's that about?
So we're part of the DRC, the Dispute Resolution Clinic. So it's basically a partnership with Ignite, like the student leadership program at Humber, and the ADR program, so Alternative Dispute Resolution. And we basically just provide services for anyone in the Humber community who needs like support with like academic appeals, grade reviews, anything like that. And we can do like conflict coaching, anything like that. And it's all free and confidential.
Free, like meaning no cost?
Literally no cost.
no
It's all free.
Exactly.
So how are you guys involved with it? What do you guys do with that? Shivani?
So we work, so Maya and I are actually co-mediators or partnered together. So we take on shifts and students or it's usually students who book appointments. And based on that, we kind of like do intake. And since now, you know, we are remote, we kind of do it on, you know, through Zoom, and we kind of hear what the conflict is. And they give us information on the conflict prior, but we do our intake as well, and just, you know, really just understand what the conflict is and see what the next steps could be.
And the two of you, how do you do what you're doing? Like prior to, and of course you have no experience with this before COVID because you both started within COVID.
Yeah.
Everything was like in-person delivery.
Yeah, before we started, from what we know, everything was in person. You had to go into the Ignite building at Humber, like on the Humber campus to make an appointment, everything like that. And now it's like everything's online. You just go on to the website, the Ignite website, you press the leadership tab, and you are at the DRC and you book an appointment for whatever days are available.
So who's monitoring that page or that site?
It's like I get Shivani, you can go ahead, but it's like it's all DRC volunteers and staff.
Yeah, it's definitely the DRC staff. Sorry, excuse me, the DRC staff and us volunteers that are just
And
kind
we
of.
have like different volunteers every day.
You take shifts.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. We all have different shifts. And depending on like anybody can book an appointment at during the week, like Monday to Friday. And whenever like whatever volunteer falls on that day is who they'll usually get.
And we always work in pairs.
Yeah, usually pairs.
So walk us through just a little bit. So if someone has contacted you by email, or they can leave phone messages too?
I assume so. There is a phone number for the DRC. I think people mostly book through the website, but there is a number that you can contact.
So okay, so you see an email and you say, hey, I've got this concern or this issue with a roommate or something else.
Hmm.
Walk us through a little bit of how you would connect back with them.
Yeah, I think so. We see it on the platform, and we kind of read through like there's different questions like, oh, what is the kind of the nature of the conflict, whether it's like a grade review or academic appeal, and they write, like what's happened, and they usually do include the steps that they've taken, but sometimes they don't, and that's okay. That's something we kind of do in the intake. And once we read that, Maya and I actually we connect together and we say, okay, like this is kind of like how I'm seeing it, and maybe we can ask these questions and maybe like these questions, and kind of just prepare, some questions that we can ask the client or the student. And a lot of it, again, is just like going with the flow, and we kind of see what they say in the intake. A Zoom link is actually sent to them, like once they book the appointments, if they want. Okay, so it's Friday at like 10 a.m. There's an automatic Zoom link that's sent in, and so we'll be there at 10 a.m. We do the intake, and then we've kind of follow up after with an email if they have to like maybe draft like an email to a professor or something.
So
Yeah, we always follow up with an email right after the appointment with like the next steps, if there are any, because sometimes it's something that we can't help them with, but either way, we'll send them a follow-up email telling them the next steps or if we can help or not.
So how do you identify whether the service that's provided through the clinic is something that is applicable or appropriate for you guys or not?
Well, anything that is like interpersonal relationships, conflict related, like we're generally there to listen to students, because a lot of the time like some of the students just want to be heard or like have their feelings validated. So yeah, sometimes people just come to you to be listened to, but other times they come and sorry, I lost what I was saying. Very loud.
They
Yeah.
have their feelings acknowledged and
Yeah,
heard.
they have their feelings acknowledged and heard, but other times we really just go through and send them. I'm sorry, there's a very loud sound going on. Shivani, you go ahead.
Yeah, we just want to hear them out, and we see sometimes, like, especially with like the grade appeals or grade reviews, that's why we do all the intake to kind of hear and see. And again, just like Maya mentioned, if there's something that we don't know if what the next step would be, we would contact and let our DRC like staff know and be like, hey, like this is something that came up. What's something that we can kind of do, and then that's when we do that follow-up in that email as well.
So how is the staff or the person that oversees the functioning of the clinic, how do they get involved with the work you guys do?
So they help us like right from the start, like doing the training to really let us know like, hey, okay, so this is kind of this is what the DRC is. This is usually like the kind of cases that we do get. But hey, there's something. Sometimes it's not always grade reviews or academic appeals. Sometimes it's just like conflict coaching and really just helping them understand like if this is what I'm experiencing, I don't know what my next steps could be. And it's just really hearing them out and kind of encouraging them. And it really helps us from hearing the different skills that, or the different skills that we learned to really apply that. Even though I know it's like online and we're not in person, but we try to connect with them to really just understand and help them. I don't know, Maya, if you want to add anything.
I think you got it.
So let's just say the situation, you've responded, you had this back and forth a little bit with the person who's contacted you, and then you say, okay, and they're interested also in trying to meet with the other person. So you will work to create a process that involves that person and quote this other person, like a mediation process.
Like, yeah, so I think we offer like peer mediation. Like we can talk to, depending on the situation. I think we have to like talk to our supervisors and stuff, but usually it starts out as like a one meeting thing. You can be like an advocate for the student or the student yourself. But it usually goes from there. Like it depends on every case. So we would have to like start with the one case, and if it involves another student and they're okay with it, of course it's voluntary. And as we said, it's 100% confidential. So like if one person doesn't want to do that together, like that can't happen. It has to be 100% voluntary on both ends.
Yeah, so then the you identify that it's something that your service could provide for, which is conditional on the other person agreeing to it or not.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
so then you have to reach out to the other person. Is that something you guys do?
I know the DRC is expanding, so I don't know. I think that's probably something that they want to kind of consider and kind of go into. I don't know if that's like in the works. I know that the staff.
We've definitely talked about it, but it's not like set in stone. It's not a solid thing right now because it's just recently become like more like we just recently widened our services for like grade reviews, academic appeals, all of that stuff. So I think they're still trying to work in more, which would be awesome.
We went online, like they were able to realize that, hey, maybe we can expand it way more than when we were like in person. So that was a different take.
That's why I think I say it's conditional, because like we could offer that service, but it's not something that's like we offer peer mediation. So
when you say peer mediation, what does that mean?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so peer mediation, that's generally just like bringing, like if there are two students in conflict, you can have another student or someone who is like a representative of the students, help them come together and like it kind of enhance their communication and talk, just get them talking better. And that can be like learning about your own conflict styles or anything like that. Learning more about yourself. It's all about self-awareness, really. And that can be, you can learn that with help of our conflict coaching too.
So if one person has reached out and said, I want to do this, in the peer mediation, how do you reach out to the other person who's involved with regard to that situation?
Well, I don't think we've been in that situation before. We've definitely talked about like what would happen.
Oh, okay.
But we've never been in that situation before, actually.
So the actual doing of we might call it as a joint session where both perspectives are together.
Exactly.
And then you guys are present as your co-mediation team to try to facilitate a process to help them speak with each other to come to some understandings.
It's really just trying to enhance communication.
So that's something that hasn't been your experience yet.
No, not like that. It's mostly just been like individuals. Our experience actually has been a lot like people advocating for students, like program coordinators and stuff. I think students are nervous, which is kind of why we want to talk about it. Like it's open for anyone. People can come see. You don't have to be an advocate. You can be a student yourself. Could be about nothing. It's free. So you can just come find out if it's worth to talk about.
Yeah, and I know before COVID, with the clinic, I believe there was more opportunity for people to come, obviously in person and do the joint sessions too. Is that my understanding?
I think so. We don't really know much about before, because we joined literally like right in the
middle. And I my intention is not to put you in a spot of discomfort here.
No.
It's just to unpack this to get it.
Yeah, I know that like any differences that we do have, I think if there are any, I think it would be that the DRC is actually used more now, because people can, like, for me, it's more comfortable to meet with someone about something like an issue I have or a challenge I have from my own home. So I think a lot of students are finding that easier because they can just come through their own home and have that confidentiality. But also the fact that like I'm in school in Toronto, but I don't live in Toronto. So it can like access so many more people.
I think those are two big differences.
I think.
The great part is that sometimes if students don't want to maybe kind of straight to the DRC, like sometimes they can talk to different committees or different groups. I think at Humber, and they can kind of contact DRC and kind of see from there, like, hey, okay, like this is kind of what the student is saying, and I think that's great too. 'Cause it's just like I mean, obviously we encourage like the students to come, but sometimes maybe if they don't, it doesn't. That doesn't mean it affects that. You can come in with a representative, and it's really just an understanding. We just want to help you understand maybe what your next steps could be.
Yeah, so you have these conversations to try to open up what's going on, to see what's not going on. They then say, what are the possibilities? What are the options? You really talk about options.
Yeah, and we try to get them to share as much as they can, to give them as many options as we can, but like we do have restrictions, like they're only like, we don't deal with, like, for example, landlord and tenant disagreements or anything legal like that. Like we can't help students with that, but we can certainly listen to them. We just can't get them any like legal advice.
Well, there's legal information though, which won't broach into the, which won't be specific to, when people ask, what should I do? If you respond to that, there's really implying that you're directing them towards this pathway where you want to provide more options, where there's a whole number of pathways to potentially follow.
For sure.
Yeah, so
these are the next steps for you to follow in this path.
Yeah, and from our understanding, this is what it could lead to. Of course, you can't give anybody assurance that this is a guarantee, because life is what it is. It's filled with unexpecteds, as like COVID has happened, and that's a major unexpected. And my background too is community mediation up in Jane and Finch, on an agency that no longer is in operation anymore. It closed in 2011 after about 23 years of being in operations. Wow. And so I know that, when we had people contact us either by email or by phone and we got back to them, we do the conversation. We would call that an intake. Though I know intake is also used in another context, let's say in family mediation, when they meet together with a person, that can be called an intake. Though in community, from my history, intake was the call. And then if it was identified to proceed to the next step, we call that a case development. Yeah. And then the next step was the joint session where you get people together. So when we had people contact us and we said, okay, this figures to be something that we could help with, and people were agreeable to that, we then took responsibility for connecting with the other person or persons involved. We call those cold calls, second party calls. It's like you gotta call somebody up, they answer the phone, and then within like 7 seconds, you gotta try and capture their attention to not just hang up on you and think you're trying to sell them a timeshare from Florida.
Yeah.
No, I don't want it.
No.
True.
Yeah, because the longer the probability, the situation is, longer you get somebody to stay on the phone, remain with you, there's a higher probability of, quote, success.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you see yourselves in terms of how long are you going to be doing this involvement with the program?
I mean, we're both involved with it's a community or an organization called Let's Get Together, and we kind of found that through our community mediation course. And we did like conflict management workshops with kind of youth from high schools and stuff. So right now we're focusing on working on a grant to get more workshops going with that. And that was what we found through our program. Other than that, we're just kind of working with the DRC still and trying to get more practice in, for me anyway. What about you, Shivani?
No, I agree. Yeah, just trying to get more practice in, and going with Let's Get Together to see, where that kind of takes us. Maybe if we can do more workshops and maybe see what doors like that would open up for us.
Yeah, and it's about creating you know, an opportunity for others, the people you're working to assist and support,
Yeah.
for them to get connected with the opportunities that they feel would be best for them to try to navigate with. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. More workshops, more better it is for sure.
Yeah.
And
And
we get feedback from students, which is so useful. They tell us exactly what we did right and exactly what we did wrong. So
That was
Oh,
very
it's good to
helpful.
know.
yeah. I mean, you know, there's the situations that you want to, you know, of the experiences you want them to contribute to build upon
Yeah.
the delivery of the service, so that it's always a continuum of change and trying to enhance things and delivery of that.
Exactly.
So just a comment, you don't do wrong. Sometimes you just do different.
Laura, that's right.
Yeah. And that's what I was alluding to at the beginning. It's not about weaknesses.
Yes,
It's about challenges or
Yeah.
differences,
differences. Yeah.
you know, using a non-judgmental lens, because our society in the West is really conditioned so much to be, it's either this or that, black or white. You know, the justice system is our template
Yeah.
to deal with the decision making for the most part. And there are many of us who believe in outside of the court process, never go into the justice system as much as possible. Stay out in the community-based approaches.
Yeah.
So with the service you're delivering, is there any involvement with working with people in conflicts in neighborhoods or not?
I mean, I don't know like too much about this because we haven't done it that long, but I do know that I think you were coordinating with her, Mary Lee, one of our professors. She's our program coordinator. And she said she actually offered the opportunity to a few of us to do a mediation with an organization or a company in Toronto that's experiencing a conflict. So that was um, she got us into the community that way, and this is recently. And she said that she has more people reaching out to her, like outside of Humber, asking for us to help with just like workplace conflicts. Even if they've already got the procedural stuff down, they just want to help. They want help with enhancing communication lines and procedures for that. So yeah, Mary's really connected us to the community and being able to help them with that, which is really cool.
I think also when we did have like our training for DRC, because of like the online, they're really just tapping in and actually learning about, okay, how can we kind of expand this and maybe like really go into neighborhoods and see like maybe what can we do here, maybe like help them understand that this is an option as well, like here maybe this might be like beneficial for you. And it's really just about getting that option and getting into the neighborhoods and let them know that there is this option, right? And it's really just like just bridging that gap just to let people know.
Even with St. Stephen's, like that was our first real like mediation simulation. We had to work with St. Stephen's Community Housing and or mediation services, sorry, and we got to do a few simulations based on real experiences. And then a few of us got to go out and actually co-op with them, some of our classmates. So they got a good they had a good connection to the community in that way.
Yeah, I used to work for the agency that I was up in. Jane and Finch was a sister agency with St. Stephen's Conflict Resolution Service. And yeah, I have a long history in this world. And Mary and I go back to many years, and so we remain connected over the years. We were actually classmates together.
Really?
Early at the turn of the century.
That sounds like a fun class.
It was actually, we were both mature students, and I use that mature in the context of age.
Okay.
Around 2002 or 3, and we were at U of T, and we were taking a peace and conflict studies undergrad. So we were working together. Yeah.
About that class or that program.
Sorry?
She told us about that program that she took it. That's funny.
Yeah. I was one of her classmates, and so we just remained connected over the years, and
awesome.
Periodically we reach out to each other and find a way to help build and support the whole intention of what our practice is about, trying to help other people to help themselves.
I think that's what's great. Like, I think tapping in and learning about mediation, that how connected like everyone really is. Like, you can branch out
Seriously.
different ways, but you just really can stay connected and be like, oh, okay, so this is kind of where you took mediation. And I've just been learning, like, when I was just connecting with the different like guest speakers that come into our lectures, and just connecting with them and seeing like, oh wow, you can just really connect with here and here. And so I'm only just like excited to kind of see down the road like how that's just going to expand. I can only see it just expanding more.
Yeah,
So
there's so many options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to get people to rewire themselves from seeing all these obstacles and the negativity of their lived experiences and their circumstances,
Mhm.
to reframe that as a possibility and be more hopeful.
Exactly. I love the way you worded that.
Thank you. I'm reading from a script here.
Oh, wow. It's a good script.
You know, Laura wrote it for me.
Oh, see, I told you Laura's awesome.
I mean, script or no script, the meaning
Right.
is still the same for sure.
Right, Shivani.
Yeah, Laura and I go back to, he's reciting really well. Yeah,
Yep.
so that's a comment from the bleacher seats from Laura. Well, Laura and I actually go back a number of years too. She's a graduate too of another program at another school, University in Toronto, and you know, it's about creating connections and establishing relationships. And you know, when you connect with somebody, when you feel that connection, it's a strength, it's an asset. So for me, having Laura as part of my, you know, situation to help support me with this, you know, I used to do this through the radio at the station at in Toronto, and it's been going on for over 16 and a half years. And so one of its intention is to actually provide information about options and resources for the community, to help inform them of, okay, I'm going through this struggle, this issue. I found out about this information, and maybe I could navigate this way rather than this way.
Yeah.
Another purpose and intention is actually to try to help give more insight to the professionals of other ways and approaches, people doing things differently than, quote, oh, I thought it was just this way we could do things. For me, that box doesn't exist. It's not about boxes, or it's about transforming our expectations of things to look beyond what we see in front of us, to see the things that we don't see, you know, like the active listening skills. You focus on what people say to really focus on what they didn't say,
Yeah.
and then try to figure out what you could try to do next with them.
Yeah. Try to reframe it to sound more positive or make questions out of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Work. Create options, right? Like, even for ourselves, like when thinking about the different skills, it's like, okay, yeah, it's just exactly what you said, like not thinking, you know, this, just not seeing it as, okay, not just this option and this option, but what something that I could create that'll still kind of work within for everyone, and that's going to be comfortable for me too. Like, it's
I
really
love the
just
creativeness of mediation.
Yeah, you know, when people say, well, this is the way mediation is done, this is the way, I get uncomfortable with that, because I don't like the word the in front of the way, you know, with way.
Right.
There's so many possibilities of doing things more organically, to be in the moment, to say, how do we try to help these people with their experiences to get where they want to get? You know, I support the whole notion of self-determination, self-empowerment. And so, as Laura's mentioned, creativity is key to mediation.
I agree so much.
So it's about adapting. We got to be connected to the moments as they happen, and then see how we can be resourceful to try to inject the whole notion of, what could we do in this particular circumstance with these particular people going through these particular circumstances?
And I feel like you learn more even from the parties themselves, or even like whoever you're conflict coaching, whatever, like they can give you ideas as to what to do next to make it more creative. Like even watching my co-mediator or anybody watching other mediators in my class, I see so many different tools that they use I never even would have thought of, or like just ways to do it I never would have thought of. You just are
Yeah.
always learning every time.
Yeah. And then about adapting it, because
Yeah.
you have two people, let's just say, they're going through this struggle, and it's about this issue that you've heard other people have the struggle with, though you would understand that these two people are different from the other two people and won't navigate with the same the same experience, even though it's the same issue. So you have to be continually adapting in the moment
Yeah.
to help support, customize it for those people.
Everyone has different experiences, worldviews, like it's going to create conflict. So I guess, yeah, it's important to acknowledge all those different experiences and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And I think like each mediation, like I think regardless, I think we'll always be walking away with new knowledge or just
Yeah.
something new each and every time for ourselves as a
More
mediator,
understanding.
and just really just expand that. I'm really just huge on like learning from different people's perspectives and their mindsets and how they view something, because I'm like, maybe sometimes I wouldn't have considered that, and how am I going to know unless I ask them, or ask, more and more questions. I definitely ask a lot of questions, so
Me too. I ask so many questions.
Yeah. So that's the key to getting the information
Yeah.
that you're curious about, you're wondering. So curiosity is a great tool or mindset of approach. For me, though, it takes one step before that. We have to be open-minded to be curious.
Yes.
If you're not open-minded, you're not necessarily curious, or
You're
you're
looking
only curious about your own perspective.
Exactly.
for sure.
I totally agree. I think if you're not open-minded, you're looking for a specific answer when you ask questions, and that's not the way to go.
That's the distinction with the justice system. It's
Yeah.
more about an advocacy for a position against another position, rather than as a collaborator, a facilitator, you're looking for interest-based.
Exactly.
You want to go deeper. You want to pull out the information that
Find some
may not be, sorry, go ahead.
Find some facts.
Or soften that term. Facts is more related for me with the legal thing. I soften it out to say it's more about the perspectives of people.
Okay.
Facts, historically is connected to the justice system. We deal with a facts-based, positional, sides approach to each other. It's adversarial. And when you go, as you know, when you go into the justice system, whether it's criminal or even family, especially too, because of the relationship, the intensity of the intimate relationship has now transitioned to be separates. And then people have to deal with the realities of their, they have children, they have property, they have to make concrete decisions. And if they approach it from a fact-based approach, I'll ask you, whose facts are right?
It's a great question. I mean, it definitely gets done faster, but I wouldn't say that everyone gets heard or everyone's satisfied.
It's really about getting everyone heard, and all, it's what you mentioned, like children are involved, right? It's like, it's just, well, yeah, in most cases,
About their opinion.
So it's like, just have to make sure everyone and everything is being considered, for sure.
Yeah, so that's why try and reframe the approach, the messaging that's related to the approach, to be more open-ended and more relational based rather than legalistic based, because legalistic has a tendency to see life through a lens of right and wrong, judgment, blame, yes, no. And in mediation type of world, for many of us who are not legalistic, relational based, it's more about perspectives. What's your point of view? What's your point of view? Without any definition as to who's right, because people, well, yeah, find that space where people can actually move from my interest, your interest, to the space of our interests,
Exactly.
our shared interests. And many times people don't realize that they have more in common, that they, they get stuck up in their emotions and they get reinforcing that they're right relative to the other person being wrong.
Yeah. Blame the problem, not the person.
Yeah, well, that's right. We try to focus on, rather than focusing on the negativity on the other person, it's more about the situation that has, how we've intersected it and made sense of it our way, in the absence of having, the effective communication amongst us together.
That's key right there, right? Effective communication. That's really what it is. It's like
always
helping people understand, like, having that effective communication can really, really go a long way. Really just help people understand. It's like, oh, hey, maybe I should have done this too. Maybe this wouldn't have, kind of gone this way if I, did this, or maybe if I listened to you, like, actively, or active, just active listening and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really promote about reflective practice.
Yeah.
Reflective listening. So rather than me being the guide to give them any answers, it's more about asking them these questions that will provoke within oneself. Okay, now that you're having this experience, ideally, what would you like to do differently? What do you see as your possibilities? So it's pushing back at the person to say, don't give ownership to another person to make those decisions for you. You are the power for yourself.
Yeah.
And you can make those determinations on your own.
For sure.
Yeah. So what kind of insights have you gained from our conversation today? Like, do I have to ask you a quiz or something? Remember I said a quiz before?
Yeah, almost made me throw up when you said that.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Honestly, even just you saying, like, every time I think it happened, I can count 3 times. I said something and you were like, oh, let's reframe that. Like, even now, like, I always reflect back on things that I've talked about, like in a mediation discussion, anything, a conversation about it, I'm always reflecting after. So even just you saying those things to me, like about the fact finding and that stuff, like I feel like I'm going to go and think about that for hours. Just like how that can change, how it can be better, more, I don't know, just that in general.
Or I think just even like hearing, like, oh, if I capture that correctly, or like, did I get that correctly? I'm trying to bring that into like everyday life as well, and like making sure I do that with everyone. Obviously not like every second, but it's just like I'm trying to incorporate that so that they understand, like, I am trying to hear you and I really want to hear what you're kind of saying. So it's just, I mean, I'm saying this because it's like the conversation that we just had is just like getting me like thinking, okay, like, this is, really the things that we learned in the first semester, and like, just keep it going, and how to continue that in my everyday life kind of thing. So
yeah, I would encourage you to keep probing within oneself, to reflect, to go deeper, get that insight, your awareness of self, and then extend that. What could this do to help benefit another person? Because the self-awareness is about starting a point of self and being somewhat selfish, though not with the traditional negative notion that it's only staying within self. There's an intention and purpose to seek to transcend, to connect with another.
Yeah, totally.
And the tool for me for that is empathy.
Oh, feel that in my soul.
Absolutely. No, I think that's true. It's like, if I want to help someone, I have to know and be prepared and self-aware myself before I could really just help someone else. And I don't know, man, I'm just kind of thinking like that, the airplane kind of like that analogy. It's like I have to put the mask on for myself, the oxygen for myself before I can help someone else, right? So it's
so true.
Yeah, and I think the idiom too is that you learn trying to put yourselves in the perspective of the person that you're trying to work to support and assist without taking ownership for it.
I actually think that's a challenge for me. Not a weakness, just a challenge.
Good.
I find myself often putting myself in other people's shoes, but almost too much. Like, I want to know what they feel like so much to like understand them, but then I don't really know how to like put myself out of that. So that's something I'm trying to work on, like feeling other people's emotions without like putting it onto myself, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's a good point.
It totally does. What I hear is that you're an empath. You
Yeah.
really seek to connect with intention,
Yeah,
and you want to have the as much sense of appreciating what the person's going through.
exactly.
And so what you got to do to develop more is to create these parallels at the same time. You're looking to create the connection with the
Yeah,
party, to appreciate what they're going through. And at the same time, some separation, that you don't take ownership for their
exactly.
lived experiences and their feelings.
It's theirs.
Yeah. So it's somewhat a connection and a detachment. And
Yeah,
that's hard for many of us to do. Yeah.
It's true. No, I think it's that
word.
empathy versus sympathy, right? It's like really, it's like I want to help you, but it's like it's not taking the ownership of the feelings, but it's just to get that better understanding. And Maya, like
Yeah.
what you mentioned, is just like I think that's great because like you want to help them find that the best options, right? It's like and I'm only gonna do that if I go into their shoes, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. When I started out, so I'm from a world with community, as I mentioned, and it's co-mediation too.
Mm.
As I'll say, Laura's is too, because that's what she gravitated to do. And she does family mediation with a co-mediation model. So when I first did my first two cases up at the organization, it's with the same person as a lead mediator. And I struggled after each of those two first. And I said, hey, to myself, these could have gone a different way. And I really was really critical of the situation and the experience. And it turned me off in some way to quote co-mediation and mediation. And then I kept thinking about it. And then I had more cases. And then I transitioned that thinking, that mindset, to say, you know what, I wouldn't have thought about all this struggle that I'm going through if I didn't see the struggles in others. And so I learned to appreciate that actually going into situations that'll push me out of my box, my safe space, will actually be the greater opportunity for growth and development.
absolutely.
And
100%.
that's where I presented to the organization, put me on all the difficult cases, because that's what's going to push me out and develop me.
For sure.
Wow, you're brave. But that, I mean, that's exactly what you should do. And that, yes, I totally see where the learning opportunity is there. That's every time we do something that's out of our comfort zone, we're like crazy reflections afterwards. Seriously.
Yeah,
To learn.
I teach to another school, and I coach to in another school. So I really promote about going into your places of vulnerability.
Yes.
I'm doing it right now. So Shivani.
Well, my experience too that I found, and I try to promote, is that people, if you tell them, why don't you just do this? Why didn't you stop doing this? They'll hear you, yet they won't do much with it. They got to connect with that whole concept and have ownership of what to do with it, when they will do with it,
Yeah.
whatever they'll do with it.
Mhm.
So there's a higher probability from my experience that when we express, well, as you mentioned, you're going through this situation, and I've heard you say you'd like to be ideally at this better place. I see potentials or options, and that I'm here to work and support along your path, walk with you, not lead you, not follow behind, walk along with you. When that kind of approach, my experiences is a higher probability of people going into their spaces of vulnerability, walking along with you.
I agree. I mean, I think you create a sense of trust when you offer them options like that, like give them autonomy to create their own, like whatever way they want to go. I think that creates trust with people instead of just telling them what to do.
Yeah, and having ownership, and then
Yeah.
they don't necessarily connect because the emphasis in mediation is that people have ownership of their decision making.
It's their
Exactly.
process. Exactly.
Their process.
Yeah, and there's a high probability that they know what to do with it. Ultimately, they just struggle to try to, can I do that? Can
Yeah.
I go navigate there or not?
It's really just a lot of hesitation, right? And it's just us
Mhm.
helping them understand, guide them throughout the process, and then let them know that it's
Long lasting outcomes. Yeah.
Yeah. as Laura's saying in the chat,
You're bully.
they have the answers. People have it. It's to us to help them shine a light
Yeah.
within, to say what you were thinking, what you were feeling. There's actually a pathway that can be created from that, with that. And so I'm here to help support you, to walk along with you.
Mhm,
That's why I love it.
for sure.
Especially with the situation. If you want to create sustainable outcomes that will last, you've got to provide that the individuals have ownership, because
Yeah.
if you get people to come to a process and make decisions and it's focused too much on the third person in the room, the mediator, that person tends to have more ownership of the decision making, and it's not necessarily connecting with the person who's the people who are most affected. And
Yeah.
so if you can create the conditions in the process that will create for sustainability for the longest of time, for the change that people want, there's a better quote success rate.
Yeah, and I think if they do end up actually getting to a resolution, I think what's the great part that the mediator does is like ask questions about the agreement. Just testing out that agreement to help them feel connected to that decision or
Yeah.
that agreement. Like, okay, so if this happens, what's going to happen here? What's the backup, or what's this? And really help them feel accountable to that agreement. And I think that's a really great way to help them feel kind of more engaged, not like as they were already getting engaged with the resolution part or the solution part. So I think that's great.
Yeah, so they'll buy into it more, that okay, you've made these decisions. All right, that's your ideal. That's what you hope. That's what you're looking to expect. What's the possibility of it not happening that way? Something else happening. What other possibilities could you then provide for? Giving some reality checking too.
Yeah. The reality checks are very important, I think. Makes people think.
All
Really?
right. Yeah. So what can you suggest for people who are going through a situation they're struggling with?
Oh my gosh. I feel like anybody who's in any conflict situation or struggle in general should just be so direct with their communication. Like, not direct as in blaming language or like aggressive, passive aggressive language or anything like that. Literally just be clear with how you're feeling and how the situation affected you, and then allow them to tell you by actively listening like how it affected them. I think that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, and I think just like promote like how important like being direct can really help you like get past a resolution, or just get like help that understand for yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes really just like in that conflict coaching kind of role, just helping them understand like how important and how long it could really like take you, or like for direct and effective communication, like that the importance of it, right? So
Yeah, it's all about change. People have a tendency in general to struggle with change in their lives.
Yes.
And so that's the lens I look through what we do. I don't look through a lens of conflict. I look through a lens of change, and people struggles with those moments and those experiences, so that it's, trying to find a way to process those moments in terms of what was happening before, what's happening now, and what do you ideally want to see happen, and get context of all those zones of time,
Yeah.
the past, the present, and the future, because people are talking in conflict about situations that happened in the past. They're talking with you in the present about them, and they're trying to make decisions that are about the future.
absolutely, I think it's like that saying, right? The only constant thing about in life is that there's change. That's really that's
and I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, if I could pick something for everybody to know, I would say conflict is not bad. In fact, it can bring about like beneficial change. Maybe the only way you'll get a positive change out of a situation is by creating a conflict. So it's not always negative.
No, in fact, that's what I try to reframe the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Conflict is an opportunity, you know,
Yeah.
absolutely. Process those tendencies to see negativity and the sense of judgment as instead as, okay, what's happening, what's not happening, to see what's the possibilities, and then try to make a conscious effort, a step to try something, see how it goes, and then keep that continuum of change.
Yeah.
You know, be adaptable and see how to work through them, those moments, and not around them.
Exactly. I totally.
What's the contact information for the clinic?
I believe that, let me just check here. I believe you just go to, ignitestudentlife.com. I can type it in, ignitestudentlife.com. And when you go to that website, you can hit leadership and advocacy, and it takes you right to the dispute resolution clinic. You can send us an email through there or an inquiry, or you can book an appointment all through that one website. It's all together to make it easy.
So you guys are going to stay with the program until
They drop us.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to drop you. I mean,
Well, I think they have to let in the next cohort. So basically, we have to train the next cohort to take over the DRC.
oh, change again, right? That whole thing of change.
Yeah.
Changes.
Give the opportunities to others. Share the love.
When's that cohort coming in? This fall or next winter?
October?
Yeah. So they'll be
Around October?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will still say that there's such richness that you guys have experienced that will, you know, be an investment in yourselves and your future and your whole pathway that you want to create for yourselves. And I'm going to say, don't follow anybody. Create your own pathways.
Mhm.
You are your own best person. You know yourselves best. Yeah, you tap into other people who can be resources and, you know, helping with all that. At the same time, you are your greatest asset.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That's right, Shivani.
No, it's very true. Create
Yeah,
that for ourselves. Create a pathway for ourselves that we're comfortable with.
That's what I love about ADR. You can literally just create your own pathway, create your own success, and it's just so many options to help people, and I love that.
yeah, and that's like going back to my earlier reference when this is the way to do it, which is there's so many possibilities on how to do it, and keeping that openness, that flexibility, that adaptability of what could be possible, because life is filled with diversity, people who are different from each other. And if we have a model that's focused only on this is how we do it, and you want everybody who's diverse to fit into that box, there's many people who will struggle with that concept and that application. So the whole notion is to make the process client-centric, adapting to the individuals and their lived experiences to find what's best for them.
For sure.
That's exactly it.
What does this conversation mean to each of you? Because we're going to close out very soon.
Yeah. I mean, this excites me because I already knew that there were so many options and that we could do our own path, but it's nice to hear that we can be our own people and figure it out. Like, you shouldn't follow anyone. You can figure out your own path, and that's kind of exciting to hear. Even though I know it was true, it's good to hear.
For sure. And I think just connecting with like people in the field and just
Yeah.
have conversation and really just see like, there's a lot of theory that we learned, and how are we seeing that with like the connections we see in the community.
Yeah.
So it's just having a conversation and continuing it and see, okay, so how is it affecting in it's something
Yeah.
that I will have to keep working on. I think if anything, my fear is that if I ever become narrow-minded, and it's something I'll always have to keep working on. And it's a lifelong journey. So it's like I'm, kind of just working on that. So
We need this.
I see myself as three things: a provocateur, an agitator, and I forgot the third one. Laura, you remember what the third one was?
I'm sure she does.
Yeah. A poet. Yeah, sure.
You know it.
It's all about I'm all about social change, not social justice, because of the connotation for me with justice is right and wrong in that box.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
the change is more organic and respectful of diversity from my point of view. So I'm all about creating change and provoking. You know, maybe we'll do it again sometime if you guys feel open to that.
Yeah, and
We'll be
I think we both want to say like thank you for this opportunity. I think this is amazing that we can, have this opportunity to have this conversation.
Yeah, it was really nice being able to just talk about this stuff, not thinking that there's like a grade involved or anything. We're literally just talking about what we've learned, which is really nice.
Yeah, at the same time as some of the things that have made an impression on within you,
Totally.
and using that as an opportunity again too, being resourceful with all these situations that happen and arise. So just a comment,
Laura.
amazing discussion this evening. Wonderful listening to you both. There is hope. She emphasizes the is for the mediation field and for the people you will be connecting with. Have a great evening and hope we meet again. And, just keep challenging yourself because that's a positive thing. And regardless of the noise that comes from external sources,
My cat.
yeah, I don't see that as noise.
Oh,
That I see as a sound. The connotation noise is like negative, and sound could be more positive or neutral. Less judgment. So language for me makes a difference. The words we use, the words we don't use, in terms of the understanding of the messaging.
And being aware.
something for us to think about now. We're gonna go reflect on this now.
Are you guys going to provide me with that report that I believe we talked about?
Yeah, we've already done it. It's about 600 pages. And
That's a little too much for me to read.
well,
No more than 550.
I was trying to give you my best. Okay, we'll try to shorten it.
Yeah.
Try.
Okay. Well, that's great, and I really want to celebrate you being with me. And
thank you, Greg. Thank you for having us. Like, what an awesome opportunity.
well, take it as a step.
Yeah.
Make sense of it your own way, because you have ownership of that. And then report back to Mary and say, hey, whatever it was. And so the product of this will be ultimately uploaded to I have a channel called Fenton Mediation. And then at some point I'll edit it for the audio version. So I have on SoundCloud an account under Mediation Station, and it goes directly to Apple and Google podcasts and other podcasts I found out. And it's a resource. It's an opportunity for people to process and make sense of it their own way. So my thing is not to tell people what to do. Let them connect with the information and make sense of it their own way. That's the self-empowerment thing. I don't empower anybody.
That's a cool way to say it. I like it.
Okay. Thank you very much. And feel free to reach out whenever. Okay. If I can be an opportunity for you and Laura.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Laura.
Yeah, I know. I figured she made that impression on you before. So.
You, Laura.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night, and we'll see you around.
Thank you for watching. Hi, people.
Yeah, see, I call those they're in the bleacher seats.
Hi, bleachers.
So I'll let you know when the audio, the video is uploaded, so you can, an idea too is to use that as a tool for the public education piece for the clinic itself. Let the community within Humber know, and possibly others outside of that this service is available to help support people.
Exactly. That's the hope.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Greg.
Be well. Stay safe. All right. So
thank you.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.